I watched my wife laugh like I didn't exist. The nightclub lights flashed across her face as she leaned closer to another man, brushing his shoulder, whispering something that made him grin wider. Then she kissed him. Not by accident. Not quickly. Slowly enough to make a statement. I stood 10 feet away, invisible in my own marriage. For a moment, jealousy flared hot in my chest. But it faded just as quickly. Because in that second, I understood something final. Our marriage was already over. She just hadn't realized it yet. I turned away, heading toward the exit, ready to leave quietly. Then she made one arrogant decision that changed everything. She laughed again and pulled him toward the VIP section, unaware that the man she was humiliating publicly had prepared for weeks. Seconds later, inside that club, her smile would freeze permanently. My name is Ethan Cole. I run a commercial construction firm in Hartford, Connecticut. I build offices, retail spaces, things that require strong foundations. My wife, Lila, worked in luxury brand marketing. Events, launches, influencer parties. Attention was her currency. Over the past year, she grew comfortable treating our marriage like a background accessory. Late nights became standard. Phone calls moved outside. Compliments from strangers replaced conversation at home. I noticed subtle signs, unfamiliar cologne, unexplained charges at boutique hotels, vague weekend client retreats. I never confronted her directly. Builders don't swing hammers blindly. We measure first. That night at the club, I hadn't followed her. I had been invited intentionally by the same investor group sponsoring the event. What Lila didn't know was that I had already gathered proof of months of deception. 3 weeks before the club incident, I hired a private investigator discreetly. Surveillance confirmed repeated meetings between Lila and a man named Adrian Russo. Adrian happened to be engaged to the daughter of one of the event's primary investors. That detail interested me more than the affair itself. Hotel footage, timestamp photos, and financial transfers tied to shared accounts formed a clean timeline. I compiled everything carefully. I wasn't seeking revenge. I was preparing for clarity. When I learned Lila would attend the investor-sponsored launch party with Adrian as her +1, I accepted the invitation as well. Not to fight. Not to argue. Just to observe. That night, watching her flirt openly was painful, but also validating. She assumed I would either explode or disappear. She never imagined I would wait. When Lila pulled Adrian toward the VIP platform, she crossed a boundary that even arrogance should recognize. The investor whose daughter was engaged to Adrian stood nearby, unaware. I stepped forward calmly and requested the DJ pause the music briefly, citing a sponsor announcement. The crowd quieted, curious. Lila laughed at first, thinking I was about to embarrass myself. Adrian smirked confidently. That was when I connected my phone to the projection system behind the bar. The first image appeared, hotel lobby footage with timestamps matching her so-called business trips. The second image showed Adrian signing into a suite registered under Lila's name. Murmurs spread instantly. The investor's expression shifted from confusion to recognition. Lila's smile froze exactly as I expected. Adrian stepped backward slowly. Lila tried to shout over the crowd, accusing me of manipulation and insecurity. I didn't raise my voice. I displayed bank statements showing shared funds used for those hotel stays. I showed text message screenshots confirming coordination. Adrian attempted to deny everything, but the projection screen didn't blink. The investor approached him directly and asked one simple question. Is this true? Adrian's silence answered it. The engagement ended in that exact moment. Security escorted him out. Lila stood motionless, shock replacing confidence. Her colleagues watched in disbelief. Clients whispered. The influencer cameras that once loved her attention now captured something else entirely. I turned off the screen calmly. Our marriage ended before tonight, I said quietly. You just decided to make it public. I left the club before she could follow. Within 48 hours, the fallout accelerated. The investor withdrew sponsorship from Lila's agency. Her employer placed her on immediate suspension pending internal review. Adrian's professional partnerships dissolved overnight. My attorney filed divorce papers citing documented misuse of marital funds. Lila called repeatedly, alternating between rage and apology. I answered once. She asked why I humiliated her publicly. I told her humiliation requires secrecy. I provided evidence. She insisted the affair was temporary confusion. I reminded her that repeated hotel bookings require planning. Silence followed. That silence felt heavier than any argument. By the end of the week, headlines in local business circles summarized the incident without drama. Marketing executive suspended after public scandal. I didn't celebrate. I reorganized my life quietly. Foundations matter. And ours had already collapsed long before the music stopped. By Monday morning, the silence between us felt permanent. Lila returned home late Sunday night, not angry anymore, just shaken. She tried to frame the nightclub incident as an overreaction. "You could have handled it privately," she said. I reminded her she chose a public stage first. Respect rarely collapses in isolation. It erodes in visible steps. She accused me of planning humiliation. I corrected her calmly. I planned transparency. That distinction mattered. My attorney advised immediate financial separation to protect ongoing projects. I transferred company assets fully into protected accounts within legal limits. Lila noticed the shift quickly. "You're dismantling everything," she whispered. I responded that dismantling already happened when loyalty disappeared. She had assumed emotional chaos would follow exposure. Instead, she faced structured detachment. Structure unsettles guilt more than shouting ever could. Her employer's review concluded faster than expected. Luxury brands avoid controversy, especially when investor families are involved. Lila's contract was terminated by midweek. Sponsors publicly distanced themselves, citing values misalignment. Adrian's engagement formally ended, and he relocated to New York to escape scrutiny. The investor community circulated quiet warnings about professional boundaries. Reputation, once fractured, rarely returns intact. Lila attempted damage control through social media, posting vague messages about personal growth and resilience. Comments were less supportive than she anticipated. Mutual friends divided into silence and distance. I focused on my projects, finalizing 2 commercial developments that had been pending for months. Stability contrasted sharply with her unraveling career. She once thrived under spotlights. Now she avoided them entirely. Divorce proceedings began in early spring. Lila's attorney proposed mutual fault language to reduce reputational impact. My lawyer declined, presenting documented financial discrepancies tied to hotel bookings and shared expenses. Courts respond to numbers more than narratives. Lila realized the house would likely be sold to divide equity cleanly. "You're taking everything," she accused during mediation. I replied that I was protecting what remained stable. Affairs may be emotional, but financial misuse changes outcomes significantly. Mediation sessions ended without hostility but without reconciliation. Outside the courthouse, she asked whether jealousy motivated my actions. I answered honestly. Jealousy burned briefly. Disrespect endured. She had mistaken patience for weakness. In reality, patience had been preparation. The house sold in June. Watching furniture leave felt less painful than I expected. Physical space means little once trust dissolves. Lila moved into a downtown apartment smaller than the dressing room she once frequented for events. Conversations between us became procedural. Asset distribution, final paperwork, transfer dates. Emotional arguments disappeared, replaced by exhausted acceptance. One evening, she asked if I ever regretted exposing her publicly. I considered the question carefully. "Regret belongs to secrecy," I said. "Truth belongs to consequence." She didn't respond. Silence has a way of settling after realization arrives. I relocated to a townhouse closer to my company headquarters. Routine returned steadily. Morning site visits, evening reports, uninterrupted sleep. Months passed quietly. Adrian's name faded from local business conversations. Lila attempted consulting independently but struggled to rebuild credibility. The investor community values discretion, and her incident remained referenced in cautionary whispers. I rarely spoke about it. When colleagues asked, I summarized simply. Boundaries were crossed publicly, and I responded transparently. They nodded, understanding more than words conveyed. Lila called once in late autumn. Her tone lacked defensiveness. I didn't think you would walk away, she admitted. I explained that I had walked away emotionally the moment she chose humiliation over respect. Public exposure was not the cause of collapse. It was the confirmation. She thanked me for at least staying calm. I told her calmness was the only control I retained. Winter returned to Hartford with quiet certainty. The same nightclub still hosted events, but I no longer attended industry parties unnecessarily. I preferred smaller gatherings, honest conversations, steady work. Sometimes I replay that moment, her laugh, the kiss, the confident smile before it froze under bright projection lights. I do not feel anger now. Only clarity. Our marriage was dead before that night. She simply chose to display it openly. When she made that arrogant decision, she believed I would react emotionally or disappear silently. Instead, I revealed truth methodically. I did not destroy her world. I removed illusion. There is a difference. Foundations matter in construction and in marriage. When they crack, covering them with music and lights changes nothing. Exposure does not create collapse. It reveals it.